Good morning. Namaskar. Let us begin with a prayer. Let us see. Yeah. This is on page 174 of Universal Prayers. The first one on that page. This is one of the three shlokas of Pratasmarana Stotram, composed by Shankaracharya. Pratasmarana means remembering in the morning our divine nature. Om Pratasmarami hृदि संस्फुरदात्मतत्त्वम् सच्चित् सुखं परमहं सगतिं तुरीयम् यत्स्वप्नजागरसुषुप्तमवैति नित्यम् तद्ब्रह्म निष्कलमहं न च भूतसङ्घः. Om. At dawn, I meditate within my heart on the self-effulgent Atman, the existence, consciousness, bliss absolute, Satchidananda, the goal of the greatest ascetics, the transcendent and the eternal, who is beyond the states of waking, dream, and sleep. I am really that indivisible Brahman, and not a combination of material elements that this body-mind are. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We are concluding the study of the Bhagavad Gita, 77. The last verse, the last 4-5 verses, beginning from 74. The actual conversation between Sri Krishna and Arjuna ends with verse 73. In the previous verse, Bhagavan Sri Krishna asked Arjuna the last question: have you listened to my advice with a concentrated mind? Has your confusion been cleared? Confusion which has caused by ignorance, has it been cleared? So that is the last question Sri Krishna asks. Arjuna says in 73, Arjuna uvāca, naṣṭo mohaḥ smṛtirlabdhā tvatprasādānmayācyuta sthito.asmi gatasandehaḥ kariṣye vacanaṃ tava. The last thing Arjuna says, naṣṭo mohaḥ, my confusion has been cleared. The Gita began with Arjuna's question, how to kill all the relatives and teachers and friends on the other side. So that doubt has been cleared by your explanations. smṛtirlabdhā. Smriti means remember, recollection, memory of what my duty is, of my true nature. All that has been regained, smṛtirlabdhā, by your grace, tvatprasādānmayācyuta, by me, Achyuta. By your grace, my confusion has been cleared and I have I have regained recollection, memory. Sthito.asmi, I have become steady. The beginning, he was shaking. His body was shaking, was perspiring, and he could not even hold his bow, gandiva. It dropped from his hands. That's how it was. But now, Sthito.asmi, I am steady. No more wavering in my mind. No more doubt in my mind. Sthito.asmi, gatasandehaḥ. My sandeha means doubt. My doubts have been cleared. Kariṣye vacanaṃ tava. That is a very important part. Tava vacanaṃ kariṣye. I will follow your instructions. Tava vacanaṃ means your words. Kariṣye, I will fulfill. I will follow what you ask me to do. To do my duty at this time. To know what my duty is and to do it. Without attachment to the work and to its fruits. And to its fruits. So that is the last word Arjuna says. He says, yes. Before that, Sri Krishna gave him choice. He said, I have given all this instruction. You consider these things carefully, examine for yourself, and then make up your mind. Don't simply say yes to what I said. You examine, consider carefully what I have said. Imrashyetadasheshena yatachasi tatha kuru. Then you do as you like. Come to your own decision. There's no binding because I said you should do this one. That freedom is given to Arjuna. Then after examines all of that, then he says, by your grace, my doubts have been cleared. I am steady. Now I shall follow your instructions. After understanding it clearly, by convinced that these are the right things to do, then he follows the instructions. That's the end of the actual conversation between Sri Krishna and Arjuna. Now the remaining how many 5 verses are Sanjaya's narration and conclusion of his narration to Dhritarashtra. You remember the whole Bhagavad Gita began as a conversation between Dhritarashtra and Sanjaya. Dhritarashtra, the Kaurava king, was in the capital Hastinapura, and the war was going on in the Kurukshetra field far away. So he asked Sanjaya what is happening on the battlefield. And Vyasa went to Sanjaya and granted him the Divya Drishti, divine vision, by which you could see what was happening on the battlefield, real time as it was happening, and he could narrate what was happening to Dhritarashtra. That's how the whole Gita happened. Sanjaya narrated the whole thing to conversation between Krishna and Arjuna to Dhritarashtra. Arjuna asked this question, Krishna gave this answer. All of this Sanjaya narrated, and then now resumes his, after Arjuna said his last words, kariṣye vacanaṃ tava, now Sanjaya continues. 74. Ityaham vasudevasya parthasya cha mahatmanaha samvadaimamamashravusham adbhutam romaharshanam. We did this one before. I'm just read the translation. Thus, I have listened to this dialogue between Vasudeva and Partha, the Mahatma. Partha is a very fine person. Mahatma means a great soul. See, because he asked the question. Unquestioningly, if he had followed what he thought was his duty, then would have been no question, no answer. Like other people were doing. They had no question. But before we do anything, we have to ask the question, what I am going to do, is it right? Is it appropriate for me to do at this time? That doubt came to Arjuna. That's what we should also think. Before you do anything, we should ask ourselves, is this the right thing for me to do? Is this my duty? Then when that is clarified, when we become convinced that this is what I am to do at this time, then we should do. Unquestioningly, we should not do something. That's what Arjuna did. So it's called Mahatma. Parthasya Mahatmanaha Ashrausham Imam Samvadam. Samvada means conversation. I listened to this conversation between Sri Krishna and Arjuna. And this conversation was very wonderful, like not ordinary people are asking, saying something to each other. Adbhutam, Romaharshanam Samvadam. This is most wonderful, greatest conversation we ever had between two people is between Krishna and Arjuna. All other conversations we have in our daily life, they are of small consequence. This is for everlasting consequence. The conversation between Krishna and Arjuna is of eternal value, not just people talking to each other something. What Sri Krishna taught to Arjuna is eternal values of universal relevance, eternal validity, always valid, applicable to everybody at all times, regardless of their faith, origin of nation, or language, or culture, or whatever. That's why Adbhutam, Roma Harshanam, it was so great that Sanjaya was listening to the conversation between Sri Krishna and Arjuna. He's so thrilled. His hair stood on end, Roma Harshanam. Horripilation came. Then next verse, Sanjaya says, 75, Yasa prasada shrutavan emam guhyatamam param yogam yogeshwarat krishnat sakshat kathayata swayam. Yasa prasadat, by the grace of Yasa, imam guhyatamam param yogam, this supreme mystic yoga, I was able to hear by the grace of Vyasa. And this yoga was taught. Yoga means any path leading to God, any spiritual in general. It has other meanings too. Specific yogas are bhakti yoga, karma yoga, etc. In general, yoga means union, uniting with God. That path, spiritual path, Yogeshwarat, from Lord Krishna himself, which is origin of all yoga. Everything, all knowledge started with him. Krishna Sakshat Kathayata Swayam. He himself gave this teaching to Arjuna. Unlike other teachers who received their teaching from their teachers and who received their teaching from their teachers, and they convey this to the next generation of students. But this is not like that. A person who created yoga, the origin of all knowledge, all yoga, he himself directly conveys this personally to Arjuna. There's no other intermediate teacher between them. Very special, directly coming from the Lord. So, Sakshat Swayam Kathayataha, Sri Krishna, by Lord himself, gave this teaching to Arjuna. Next sloka, 76. Rajan samsmritya samsmritya sammadamyamavadbhutam keshavarjunayoh punyam rishyami cha muhurmuhu. O King Rajan, addressing Dhritarashtra, Sanjaya says, calling to mind again and again, samsmritya, remembering again and again, muhurmuhu, again and again, this wonderful and holy dialogue, samvadamyamu adbhutam, punyam, divine conversation, not any ordinary conversation, punyam adbhutam samvadam, the greatest conversation that ever was, between Krishna and Arjuna, Keshava Arjunayoho, Hrishyame muhurmuhu, again and again I rejoice. Great waves of joy comes to Sanjaya when he remembers this conversation. Next one, 77. Tacha samsmritya rupamadhyadbhutam harehe. Tacha samsmritya rupam adhyadbhutam harehe. Vismayo me mahan rajan hrishyami cha punah punaha. Same statement. Punah punah hrishyami. Earlier sloka I said punah punah muhurmuhu hrishyami. Again and again I get this bliss, great joy comes to me. That's a samsmriti, remembering it again and again. That means that conversation. Atyadbhatam Harehe Rupam, this divine, most wonderful form of the Hari, which was revealed to Arjuna in the 11th chapter, Vishwarupa. That also Sanjaya saw. Whatever was happening, she saw. Vismayame Hamahan Rajan. Between Krishna and Arjuna, repeatedly rejoice. Wonderful. This holy dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna, calling to mind again and again, I repeatedly rejoice. Samsmritya. This cosmic form, Vishwarupa, that Bhagavan Sri Krishna revealed to Arjuna, has a very, very special grace. Even other gods and goddesses could not have that privilege of seeing the cosmic form. Arjuna was specially granted this grace of revealing in the cosmic form to Arjuna. In chapter 11, we studied that one. 77. Repeatedly calling to mind that most wonderful form of Krishna. My amazement, O King, waxes. I rejoice without measure. Krishyami. Then last sloka, 78. Yatra yogeshwara Krishno, yatra partho dhanurdharaha, tatra shrir vijayo bhutihi, dhruva netirmatirmama. Where the master yogin, Sri Krishna, Yogeshwara Krishna, where the bowman Arjuna, Partho Dhanurdhara, Yatra Partho Dhanurdhara, there Tatra Shri, the Shri means wealth, glory, Vijaya means success, Bhuti means prosperity, Dhruvaneti, stable social order, peace in society. Nitir Matir Mama, this is my connection. That means Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, where the teachings of the Lord Sri Krishna are studied and practiced in that society, in that family, in that society, in this country, in that place. Yatra Partho Dhanurdharaha, where Arjuna holding the Dhanu, this Gandiva, the bow, who asked the question. That's how the whole Gita Upadesha teaching was given to him by Lord Sri Krishna. So that means we have to question every action that we do before doing that one. Those things we saw in 1825, chapter 1825. If you go back in your text, 22, 25, 1825, four things have to be considered before we do any action, whether by speech, before saying anything, for doing anything. We should think of four things. What are they? Anubandham, consequences of my action. In the near future, at the present, and in the future, how it will affect me and other people. Consequences upon me, other people, and the environment, family, or workplace. I may do something today which may appear to be the right thing to do, which may bring me benefit. But if it causes pain or loss or embarrassment to other members of the family or other people in the workplace or in society or neighborhood, in future, today everything may appear all right, but it may, for 2 months or 5 months later, next year, it may cause some problem. That I should think now before doing the action. Anubandham. Kshayam. Whatever action we do, inevitably there is some loss. Kshaya means loss. You cannot do any action without losing anything. When you do some action, we lose material, energy, time. Even when you don't do anything, simply keep on thinking something, No energy is, no mental energy is lost, but no material is lost. But time is lost. So that loss, kshayam, we should examine if it is commensurate with the gain that the work brings. If the loss is greater than the gain, we should question the action. That second thing we have to consider. Nabandham kshayam. Third thing we have to think about before doing any action is we are doing 1825. Himsam. Does my action cause any injury, pain, loss to some other being? Not only people, animals, plants, and nature. I may start some factory which may bring me profit, employment to people, but if it causes a lot of air pollution and water pollution, then it is lost danger to the whole society. Everybody has to breathe the air and use the water. So is that consequence justifiable? Is there some way to reduce it, prevent it or reduce it? Those things you have to think before doing the action. Himsam anapekshata paurusham. Paurusha means competence. Will I be able to complete this work, bring it to the logical conclusion? Some people start some project with great enthusiasm. Then halfway through it, they will remember, they will realize that they don't have what it takes to complete it, knowledge or resources or material or time, because they just began in a fit of enthusiasm, moment of enthusiasm. So we should not do that. We should think all of that before we start the action. Do we have the resources, material, ability, knowledge, and skill to complete it? Then only our work will be fruitful, will be meaningful. Moha, not considering these four things, yat karma moha arabhyate. That work which is began out of delusion, misunderstanding, without considering these four things, yat tamasamachyate, that is tamasic karma. That we should not do. So that is what he is referring to here. Dhruvanitihi. When we do all actions in our life, in family life, personal life, or professional life, anywhere in society, if you do all our action by thinking about all these things, then there will be peace, prosperity, and everybody will be happy, and no one will be bothered by my action. No loss to society or to nature. Otherwise, there will be undesirable, unwanted consequences. So that society where these instructions are followed, Bhagavan Sri Krishna's instructions are followed, or questions are asked before doing action as Arjuna did, there everything will go smoothly, there will be success, prosperity, peace, and wealth. Everything will come. But the society where people indulge in violence, hatred, there will be no prosperity, no peace, always unrest. You can see some societies, even now, where law and order is not followed. People do whatever they like, and women are not respected. Women should be respected and given their proper place in society, in life. They are the foundation of life, women. In our culture, spiritual heritage, we consider every woman as divine mother herself. Sri Ramakrishna taught this one, practice this one, not only taught, practice this one. If that is not done, if women are not respected, given proper place, then there'll be no peace, no prosperity. There'll always be strife and unrest in that society. We are seeing that actually happening now. Even in the most advanced country, the United States, women don't get their due share all the time. They're getting it more and more. That problem is being recognized and being solved, but they're not paid the same as men in some cases. So that is not good. Our spiritual heritage says women should be respected, treated with great respect. Their contribution is enormous to society, to human life. What they contribute to human life, is unmatched. So in scriptures like the Manusmriti, we hear instructions like this. For example, yatra naryastu pujyante ramante tatra devataha. Nari means woman. Yatra, in that society, that family, where women are respected, pujanti means worshipped and shown respect. Tatra devataha ramante. Their gods dance with joy. Everybody is happy. Peace prevails. Prosperity happens. So that family, that society where women are respected, treated well. Yatra tastu na pujante, where they are not respected, treated well. Nishphala sapala kriya, nothing succeeds. Everything fails. Unrest, violence, hatred, no prosperity, poverty, and suffering. Inevitable. You can see that happening in some societies, even now, this today. So that is the teaching. Niti means where Bhagavan Shri Krishna's instructions are followed and people do their actions after questioning, being convinced that this is the right thing to do, the right time to do. There will be Tatra Sri, wealth will be there, Sri. Vijaya, success will come. Bhutihi, prosperity will be there. Dhruvanitihi, there will be peace and order in society, in the family, workplace, society. That is the importance of this teaching. That is the conclusion. So with that, Sanjaya concludes his narration. That's the end of the Bhagavad Gita. Now let me read the colophon, the last statement. At the end of every chapter we should read. Here it says, Iti Srimad Bhagavad Gita Upanishatsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishnarjuna Samvade Moksha Sannyasa Yoga Nama Ashtadashodhyayah. It is Srimad Bhagavad Gita Upanishatsu. Bhagavad Gita is not an Upanishad. Upanishads are parts of the Vedas. Gita is a part in Mahabharata, which is not a Veda. It is called Panchama Veda because it is important. Mahabharata is an epic, itihasa. This is part of that one. So Smriti Grantha, not Shruti. Still, it has a very special status in spiritual literature. Bhagavad Gita enjoys a very special status equivalent to Upanishad. Because Bhagavad Gita contains the essence of the teachings of all the Upanishads. Upanishads contain the teachings of the great sages as it was revealed to them, as they experienced to their students. And they were expressing it in terms of their own personal experience. What is Brahman? Everything in the world is Brahman. Sarvam kalvidam Brahma. I am Atma Brahma. This individual soul, nothing other than Brahma. All these things they experienced and they taught. The great sages. Upanishads, parts of the Vedas. No, but they did not give much detail about how to achieve that goal. There's not much about Karma Yoga in the Upanishads. And Gita provides that, supplements it. Gita has two aspects in its teachings. Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre. Brahma Vidya means knowledge of the self. Whatever Upanishad says, every soul is divine, everything is Brahman, Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma. The same thing Bhagavad Gita says. One part of it. There is Jnana Yoga in the Bhagavad Gita, second chapter, earlier part of the second chapter. For example, sloka number 20 in chapter 2 describes the nature of the Atman. The attributeless, formless, beginningless, endless, eternal, infinite, pure consciousness Atman does not change. That is described in the second chapter. Sloka number 20, for example. There Bhagavan Shri Krishna says, Najayate mriyate va kadachit Nayam bhutva bhavita va na bhuyaha ajo nitya shashvatoyam purano nahanyate hanyamane sharire. This Atman najayate has no birth. Body has birth and death. Namriyate, Atman has no death. Everything else in the world has beginning and end. Birth and death. Everything in nature, whole nature. Sun has a beginning and an end. Earth, the planetary system, this galaxy, other galaxies, everything has a beginning and an end. Everything is changing every moment. Not Atman. Najayate namriyateva kadachit at any time. It never was absent, never will be absent in the future. Ajaha, it is birthless. Nityaha, it is eternal. Shashvata, it is permanent. Ayam Puranaha, it is ancient, beginningless. Sharire hanyamani atmana hanyate. 220 we are doing. When the body dies, Atman does not die. Body is a physical entity made of material and goes back into the five elements, Panchabhutas. Mind also is subtle material, made of the subtle part of matter. That also disintegrates. When liberation comes, mind disappears. Otherwise, it will continue from birth to birth, some part in the mind. Body will go. But not Atman. Hanyamana shariri atmana hanyate. All like that, it has Jnana Yoga in it. Gita has. Adhyatma Vidyayam. And then Yoga Shastra, which is not found much in the Upanishad. Yoga Shastra means the practical aspect of life. How to practice the spiritual life, how to reach the goal of spirituality. For devotees, how to reach God, how to get pure devotion to God. For devotees, that's their goal, pure devotion. For Jnanis, it is how to realize our Atman, how to know that I am the Atman. Aham Brahmasmi, how to experience it. The path of Jnana Yoga. All of those things are given in the Bhagavad Gita. The practical aspects, the actual practice that we have to do, things that we have to do. So many places Bhagavan has given us lists of things that we have to do in the Gita. This is the speciality of the Gita. Both theory and practice, Adhyatma Vidya Yoga Shastra, both are given by the Lord in the Gita. That's why it's enjoy a very special status. Among all scriptures, of which there are so many innumerable scriptures we have, among all of them, Gita stands out as the most important one. That is why Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna also said, every day one has to study the Gita. At least one shloka. Many people I know, they study the Gita every day. Some people chant one shloka every day, some one chapter every day. Some, I know one person who recites 3 chapters every day. I know some people who chant the whole Gita every day. The members of the Gita Mandal organization, they have to chant the whole Gita every day. They do. And they memorize. So as much as possible, one shloka every day. Like taking multivitamin one every day, like that one. That's our spiritual nourishment. So that we have. That's why it is so important. Bhagavad Gita. And I request you one thing. Now that we have completed the 18 chapters, please do not put away and say I have to study the Gita. You can never say that one in respect of Gita. Any other book like any novel, fiction, we can read from one page to last page and put it aside, say newspaper, you don't read again. But this is of eternal value. Every day of our life we have to study. Swadhyaya. That is right, Swadhyaya. Pravachana. That is the importance of the Gita. Tatra Sri Vijayo Bhotir Dhruvani Tirma Tirmama. So going back to the last statement, Bhagavad Gitaam, Adhyatma Vidyayam, Yoga Shastra, both are in the Gita. Adhyatma Vidya, Yoga Shastra. Sri Krishna Jana Samvade, this was in the form of conversation between Bhagavan Sri Krishna himself, the source of all knowledge, and Arjuna, the disciple, the ideal disciple, Arjuna. Because he inquired into everything, did not simply accept because Krishna was saying so. So many questions he asked throughout the Gita. And that's how we have the total teaching of everything. All the yogas are included in the Bhagavad Gita. That is the importance of the Bhagavad Gita. Yoga Shastra Sri Krishna Samvade Moksha Sannyasa Yoga Nama Ashtadashodhyaya. Every adhyaya chapter as we see in as a name. So 12th chapter is called Bhakti Yoga. Third chapter is called Karma Yoga, like that one. Samaptaha, samaptam, completed. Samaptam. So that is the study. And I placed before you what little I have understood. There are greater teachers. Their teachings are very thorough, deeper, clear, gives a clear insight into the teaching. Whatever little I understood, I have placed before you. And if you have any questions, please send it to me by email or by phone. Next, one more session we have. Next session, next week, so Wednesday will be our last class. Then we shall start studying the Katha Upanishad. After a lapse of 4 weeks, I'll be away for 4 weeks from 27th February until March 28. Then the first week of April, we shall start with Katha Upanishad. So in the meantime, review the Bhagavad Gita. And I have one more suggestion. If you wish, you can listen to Swami Sarvapriyanandaji's discourses on Katha Upanishad. He's a great teacher. And he has given talks on Katha Upanishad. You can listen to it. Watch his talks before we begin our study, and that will be helpful if you wish to do so. That's a good thing you can do. Now let us go back to we still have time. I want to highlight a few things which I think are important in the Gita. So 100 verses are there, and it's not necessary to study every verse. Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna said, you don't have to study all the 7 verses in the Gita. Study a few, get a few ideas, put them into practice. That's enough. Gita is everything. People of all temperaments and abilities, it has paths. We don't need everything. When you go to a restaurant, we give you a menu, we choose one item that we want to eat. When you have so many items, everything is nice. According to our taste ability, like that. If you choose a couple of ideas from the Gita, put them into practice every day, then you will reach the goal of life. Good. So let us go in the second chapter. As I pointed out earlier, there are some verses beginning from 11th verse. Yeah. That's where Bhagavan Sri Krishna begins his teaching. And before that also, as I mentioned last time, I think, let's go back to beginning of second chapter. The second chapter, at the very beginning, before he begins his regular Vedanta teaching, Bhagavan Sri Krishna, which happens in verse 11, in chapter 2, there are 2 verses 2 and 3, which contain the message of strength. Before saying anything to Arjuna, Sri Krishna talked about many things in the Gita, all yogas. Before saying anything, Bhagavan Sri Krishna told Arjuna to remain of his own strength, call for strength. Most important message. Those 2 verses, 2 and 3 in chapter 2, where Bhagavan Sri Krishna asks, I'm highlighting these 2 slokas because of their importance. Bhagavan Sri Krishna asks Arjuna, from where this weakness has come to you at this juncture? Pardon me. At this juncture, Kutastva Kashmalaveda Mishame Samapastita. Juncture means on the battlefield. This teaching of Gita happened in the battlefield. Unlike teachings in the Upanishads, they happened in the atmosphere, in the forest hermitages, away from the cities and crowds. in a peaceful atmosphere. Upanishads and other things were taught. But unlike that, this unique Gita is unique in the sense that the teaching happened right in the middle of the battlefield. Our life is a battlefield. Every day we have to deal with our problems of our life. Every day we are facing problems. If you are thoughtful, then we have to be watchful, careful, and do all our actions thoughtfully. So those questions that Arjuna asked, we should ask in our daily life. When he beat right between the armies, right in the middle of the battlefield, this teaching happened. At this juncture, Vishame, Klaibyam etat kutaha, from where this weakness has come to you? You are not known as a weakness person, you weak person. You are known as the strongest person, bravest warrior, most accomplished archer. How come that you are displaying this weakness at this juncture? Then he says, Kutastvak Ashmalavidam Mishame Smapastitam Anaryajvashtam. Arya means a noble person. Arjuna was a noble, not an ordinary warrior, a noble person, known for his nobility, his qualities. In you, this is totally unbecoming, uncharacteristic. Swargyam does not bode well for you future. Swargyam, you don't go to heaven by neglecting your duties. Even after this life, our future will not be good if we don't do our duties properly, understanding them. Akirtikaram Arjuna, this will not bring you fame. Kirti. Now, millennia later, 5,000 years or so later, we are remembering Arjuna because of the important part he played in the Bhagavad Gita teachings, because of his noble qualities. Otherwise, if he had run away without fighting, doing his duty, we would have remembered him as a person who run away from the battlefield, could not face the problem of life. No, that's not happening. Kirtika number zero. Then sloka number 3. Then he says, Kshudram hriya darbalyam taktva uttishta parantapa. This kshudra means petty, unbecoming. Hriya darbalyam means weakness of the heart. Taktva, giving up this petty weakness we are displaying. Uttishta parantapa, stand up. Uttishta comes several times. Stand up. Oh, scorcher of the foes. That is the teaching. Then the call for strength. Now, why you mentioned these two slokas? Because Swami Vivekananda extolled these slokas. He spoke extensively on these two verses, 2 and 3 in chapter 2. Call for strength. And Swamiji says, I read this passage last time, I think. In his talk, Swamiji says, if anyone read these two slokas, 2 and 3 in chapter 2, understand the meaning clearly, that person will have understood the whole essence of the Gita. Swamiji Vivekananda said that one. He will get the benefit of studying the whole Bhagavad Gita by properly studying, understanding these two verses, 2 and 3 in the Gita, chapter 2 of the Gita. So that's very important. Then afterwards, the real teaching begins from Vedanta begins in chapter 11, in the verse number 11, chapter 1. There, Sri Bhagavan uvāca, the Lord says, verse number 11 in chapter 2. Ashocya nanvashocastvam prajñāvādāṃsca bhāṣase gatasu nagatasumsca nanushocanti panditaः. So he says, Lord says to Arjuna, you grieve for those who call for no grief. Ashocam. Anvashocha, you have expressed grief. Prajñāvādāṃsca bhāṣase. In the first chapter, Arjuna gave long explanation of why he does not want to fight. He's talking all kinds of philosophy, justifying his idea of not fighting. Prajñāvādāṃsca bhāṣase. You speak as if you are a great scholar, words of wisdom. Gatasura gatasumsa, those Pandita nanushocanti. Pandita means a person who has real knowledge of the self. Pandita ordinarily means somebody who does the chant mantra, does ritual in the temple or on the holy pilgrimage places. But it's not that one. Pandita in Vedanta means a person who has highest knowledge. Such people, they don't grieve. There's no shoka. They have crossed the ocean of shoka, grief, by knowing the self. Tariti shokam atmavit in the Upanishad, Chandogya Upanishad, Narada says. Atmavit shokam tarati. Atmavit means one who knows the self. Samajnani, Atmajnani, shokam tarati, crosses the whole ocean of grief, no grief. That is the highest goal. Then his teaching continues about all this nature of the self. Sloka number 13, for example. The body goes through so many changes, but Atman has no change. A person who identifies with the body, thinks I am the body, I am the mind, that person goes through all the changes. When the body becomes old, he becomes sad, cries. When the body becomes sick, he becomes very unhappy. When the body dies, people are also happy, he is also afraid of death. The ordinary person. But a person who knows that he is the self, which has no beginning, no end, no death, no birth, no old age, no change. He remains unaffected by what happens to the body. That is explained in verse number 13. Dehe nosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yavanam jara. Kaumara means childhood. Yavana means youth. Jara means old age. Tatha dehantara praptihi. Dehantara prapti means gaining another body. That means this body has to be given up. Death will come before you are reborn. Dhirastatra namuhyati. Dhira means a person who has the knowledge. Namuhyati is not confused. Does not feel bad when these changes happen to the, like everybody these changes happen. Birth, infancy, childhood, youth, middle age, old age, death. This happens to all bodies. This is also comes. Ordinary person is very much affected by all of these changes. In a dhira, a person who has knowledge of the self, namuhyati, none of these changes affect him. And if a person becomes, his body becomes old, it is supposed to become old. Law of nature is matter. One day it's going to disintegrate, stop functioning. I'm not the body. I'm not affected by what happens to the body. I'm the Atman. Eternal, ever free, no birth, no death, no old age, no disease. Sachidananda I am. For such a person, no grief at all. Remains unaffected. So we have to practice that acceptance of the inevitable changes in life, and we should remain as calm as possible when these changes happen. That's the message here. 13. And I'll have to skip a few things. All this nature of the self is described in the subsequent verses in the second chapter. Sloka 22, chapter 2, for example, the body mind are compared to the garment you are wearing. The garment becomes old, worn, torn, and unfit to you, it will be cast aside. New garment is taken. So we don't worry about the garment. I'm not the garment. All changes happen to the garment. Nothing, not to me. I'm the wearer. If this becomes old, I'll throw it away. Same way about the body. I'm the Atman. For Atma Jnani, there is no sadness, there is no grief. When body goes, he remains unaffected. I'm not the garment, I'm the Atman, the wearer. That one. So 22 describe that one. Vasam sijirnani yatha vihaya navani grihణāti naroparani tatha sharirani vihaya jirnani anyani samnyati navani dehi. Dehi means the indwelling spirit. that indwelling spirit remains unaffected. Deha, body, goes through all the changes. And when it becomes old, this body becomes old, cannot function anymore, it is cast aside. Just like when this garment becomes old, we put it aside. Navanij anyani naroparani samyati. We get a new garment, set of garments. Same way, we get a new body. New rebirth happens. So that person remains unaffected. Like this, there are very interesting things. I got to go a little bit faster. Let me skip a few. Just simple tool, the key. 47, 48 in chapter 2. Very important verses. Make a special note of these. 47, 48, they contain the gist of Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga is explained in the subsequent chapter 3 and other chapters. But the main points of Karma Yoga are given in the 47, 48. In 47, Bhagavan Sri Krishna says, 247, Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. You have the right only to perform the work. Karmanitevadhikaraha. Not to undertake the discipline of knowledge. For Arjuna, he says, most of us. Ma phaleshu, in the regard to fruit of the work, we have no control. Sometimes we succeed, sometimes we fail. In spite of best effort, that's not the result is neither predictable nor controllable. In every case, it happens. When you do some work in any field of human endeavor, personal life, family life, professional life, or anything, the result is not entirely in our control. We may succeed more than we expect sometimes. We may fail more miserably than we anticipated. Why that uncertainty is there about the result? Why can't we predict and control the result always? Because we are the doers. That's what we think. The answer comes later in the 18th chapter. Many factors, besides our effort, what we put into the work, come into play and alter or affect the outcome of our work. The outcome of our work is shaped by many factors besides our effort. Our effort is important. But there are other factors besides what I do that will affect the outcome of my work. Those are listed in chapter 18, verse 14. They will study them later. So here it says, Ma karma phala he turbu, 247. Don't think that you are the producer of the fruit of your work. Therefore, do the work. At the same time, akarmani ma te asangostu. 247, ma te sang. Because I cannot control the outcome, one should not think, why should I do any work? We can take that stance. Because I cannot control the outcome of my work, then why should I bother? I will do the minimum or get it out of the way because I can't control the outcome. No, that should not be. Akarmanite sangama, don't take recourse to inaction. We have to do our action. Again and again, numerous times in the Gita, Sri Krishna says, do your action. By doing our action, we succeed. Every action should be thought of as an opportunity for realizing our ultimate goal of life. Every action that we do can be a step in our towards the goal of our life. If we do it properly, karma action is like a key in an old-fashioned lock, not a digital lock. These days, you press the digits. Old-fashioned lock keys used to be there. Karma is the key to life, success or failure. The key, what it does, if you turn one way, it unlocks. If you turn the other way, it locks. Karma is like that. If you do it one way, it shows the way to freedom, to liberation. Do it the other way, it puts us back into a suffering, field of suffering. Same karma. Do it one way, shows the way to freedom, liberation. eternal peace and joy. Do the opposite way, then puts us back into field of suffering. So karma is the key. So karma should be welcomed. Any work that comes should be done with gratitude, because that's the opportunity to go towards God, to reach our ultimate goal of life. Every karma, if done properly, will take us towards the goal. It's very important. So Mate Sangos Tvakarmani, 247. Don't take recourse to inaction. Then 248 is very, very important. 5-star sloka, 248. There Bhagavan Sri Krishna gives two important instructions that you have to keep in mind while doing any work. 248, Yogastha Kuru Karmani Sangam Tyaktva Dhananjaya Siddhya Siddhya Samo Bhutva Samatvam Yoga Uchyate. Two things are mentioned here. Yogastha Kuru Karmani. As a yogi, karma yogi, do all your actions. What is the karma? Does it mean by being a yogi? Yogastha, established in yoga. Two things are meant. One is Sangam Tyaktva. Sangam means attachment. Attachment to karma phala. That we should not have as much as possible. My work, I am doing it, I am the doer. This must bring me this benefit. Attachment to the fruit of work, karma itself, that is bad. That binds us more. Attachment means binding and more suffering. Detachment means freedom and liberation. Siddhya, second instruction. Siddhya siddhyo samo bhutva. Siddhi means success. Asiddhi means failure. Repeatedly, this instruction comes in the Gita. Equanimity in success and failure. In happiness and unhappiness. In suffering and joy. In loss and profit. In fame and infamy. When people blame or when people praise, I remain unaffected. If I am affected by everything what other people do or say, then I'm giving control of my happiness to them. They'll press buttons and make me jump up and down. No, I remain independent. No matter what other people say or think, or what happens to my work, success or failure, gain or loss, suffering comes or happiness comes, I remain unaffected. Siddhya siddhyo sama bhutva. Remaining sama means equanimous. Very difficult. When success comes, we enjoy, we are happy. When failure comes, we become angry and sad. That's a normal human tendency. We have to overcome that one. We should remain calm and unaffected even in the face of failure. Many times in this chapter in the Gita, this teaching of equanimity comes. For example, 238, 10 slokas before, there Sri Krishna said, second chapter, 238. Let me get the correct, 238. There Bhagavan said, Sukadukhe same kritva labha labhau jaya jayau. Sukha dukha, happiness and happiness, inevitable in everybody's life. Everybody's life is a mixture of sukha dukha in different proportions. Same kritva, remaining equal, taking everything in stride. Sukha dukkha, happiness and happiness, suffering and enjoyment. Labha alabhau, same kritva. Labha means gain, profit. Alabha means loss. That happens in every aspect of life. Jaya ajayau. Jaya means success. Ajaya means failure. Which happens when we don't know. Not in our control, success, failure. But we have to do our work and remain calm. Same kritva, treating them equally. That means remaining unaffected by one or the other. And success comes, you should not exult too much and celebrate too much, because next moment things may change. And failure comes, we should not become dejected, depressed, sad, or angry. That also will change. Same kritva labha labha jaya jaya. Tato vidha vidyasva evam papa mavapsyasi. We have to do our duty regardless of the result of our action, taking everything, especially loss and suffering, with equanimity, samatvam. Many times this teaching comes. So we'll stop here. Next time, as a preparation, I want you to please Go to 54 until end of chapter. Second chapter, verse 54, contains Arjuna's question. Very important question Arjuna asks. And Krishna gives a very detailed answer. 254, Arjuna says, Chita prajnasya ka bhasha samadhisthasya keshava sutadih kim prabhasheta kimasita vrajeta kim. Chita prajna means a person whose awareness is steadily anchored in the self, always aware of, devotees always aware of God's presence, always thinking about God, keep their mind fixed on God. Jnanis keep their awareness fixed on the self. I'm not the body mind, I'm the self. Body mind goes through so many changes every day, all life. I'm not worried about that. I'm the self. There's no change, no birth, no death, no unhappiness, no pleasure. Sachidananda. Nothing affects me. The steadiness, steady awareness of the self person is called a Sita Prajna. What are his qualities? How does he speak? How does he talk? How does he do his daily actions? That question in 254, very important question Arjuna asks. Rest of the chapter, 55 until 72, Sri Krishna gives a detailed answer, list of qualities of Sita Prajna. Many people memorize this portion, 55 to 72. Many people memorize this one, at least this portion. Very important qualities to the prajna. We have to emulate those qualities. Each one of us has to become a chitta prajna. Study awareness and not affected by anything. So they will study some of those qualities. I want you to pay special attention to 55 to 72 in chapter 2, and we will proceed from there next time. Thank you very much, and see you next week. If you have questions in the meantime, please send me by email or call me. Thank you very much. Closing prayer. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramayah, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om. May all be happy. May all be free from diseases and ill health and other problems. May all know and practice what is noble, dharmic, and virtuous, and may there be no suffering for anyone. Om peace. May there be peace and joy in our hearts. May there be peace and harmony amongst all beings, and may there be peace everywhere in nature. Hari Om Tatsat Sarvam Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Thank you all who have sent the greetings. And I Kamalam from Houston has sent the greetings, and a couple of other people. Thanks for everyone. Namaskar.